Nancy Harris from Northeast Tech in Oklahoma, and we'll get into all the various descriptions of how your school is put together and all that. But welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you on. And before we do get into how the Tech Career Center is structured and all that, let's just quickly, if I can, ask about you and your background. How long have you been interested in science and health careers and all that? Is this something that you've been teaching for a while?
Yeah, so this is my 15th year at Northeast Tech as an instructor. This is my 32nd year as being a registered nurse. When I was growing up, I was just a kid. I was in band. I was band queen. Woo, that was a big thing back then in the 80s. I didn't know what to be. My teacher called me in. My counselor called me in during my senior year and said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "Oh, I think I'll be a teacher." And she said, "Oh, Nancy, you have a lisp. You can't be a teacher. What's your plan B?" I didn't have a plan B. So I just graduated high school and I went to start working. And one of my part-time jobs, I met a lady who was doing a training. I was working with developmentally disabled adults, and she was a registered nurse. And I said, "I want to do what you do." She goes, "Go to nursing school." So put myself in nursing school and was a school nurse for a long, 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 long time. The Northeast Tech opened up this position and said, "Nurses are teachers, teachers are nurses. Why don't you come be a teacher for real?" And I said, "Okay, I'll try it." Oh my gosh, this is the funnest job I've ever had. So I was never a nerd, a science nerd. I was never the person people went to for, "Are you sick? Are you injured?" I was not that person. I am now.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So nursing school first, obviously, and then you went back and got your degree for teaching.
No, actually, so what I have is in Oklahoma, I have my school nurse certification through Oklahoma Education and State Board of Education, sorry. And then I went and put in 15 graduate hours to get my teaching certificate through the State Board of Education for career tech education. So that's where I have my bachelor's in nursing and then my career tech teaching certificates.
Fantastic. Wow. Excellent. So how was that transition?
It was pretty seamless. The first 3 years I cried every day because I'm like, I know how to school nurse. I don't know how to be a teacher. And then I walked in the fourth year and went, "Oh, this is so easy. This is so easy. I got this." So
Yeah.
shout out to all new teachers. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah. That's great. And just geographically set us up. Well, you're look to me based on what I could see, you're not too far from Tulsa.
That's correct. I'm about 30 minutes northeast of Tulsa. Um, right here in Claremore, Oklahoma, home of Will Rogers. It's funny, he was popular back when I was growing up, but my students now go, "Yeah, he's got a memorial in town. Who is he?" Oh, it just breaks my heart.
Yeah. Really? Well, I did not know that. Will Rogers is right from Claremore.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, what a legend, obviously. Terrific.
I think
Yeah.
so. I'm trying to get
Yeah.
my new students into the world here about who historically people are in the Claremore area.
Yeah. You wonder what Will Rogers would say about today's political landscape, but we won't get into that.
I think he'd have a lot of fun things to say.
Yeah, for sure. He's got plenty of material to work with, that's for sure. That's great. Well, tell us how the Tech Center, Northeast Tech, how does that work? You serve a number of different districts in your region. I know Oklahoma has a strong career tech district system.
Yes. Um, I know my public ed friends get jealous of me all the time because I can afford stuff in my budget. We're based on millage and by employers in the area and manufacturing. So we pull in dollars by ad valorem where we can make more money than public schools can get just through state education funding. And so that helps me reach out and get anatomy and clay and get the training and offer all these extra things to bring kids from the high schools. A lot of our rural high schools don't even have science labs. And chemistry in high school is the funnest thing I ever did. And they don't have chemistry labs. So I try to entice them to come here to Tech because I'll dissect anything we can find. We'll build anything we can out of our clay, because clay can be used for every body system. I don't know if you knew that, but any body system it can be used. And trying to make them feel that they're important enough that they get to come to tech.
So give us an idea of the size of the tech center. How many students are there? And in addition to health careers, what else is taught there at Northeast Tech?
So on my campus, I'm here in Claremore. I have the health careers program, and I usually run 32 to 36 kids a year. And I have a morning system and an afternoon system of juniors and seniors. Then we also have our LPN program, which is licensed practical nursing program. And that's for high school graduates, adults. We also have, this is really cool, an early child care education system where we're trying to get daycares with people that can be employed and certified and go out and start their own daycares down the road. That's a new one for us, and I'm pretty excited about it because they got some really cool toys in their classroom. Then we have an East class, which is like a computer class, but they're all project-based. They're community project-based programs. So everything they do has to have a customer in the community, and they go out and they do everything for the whatever computer tech thing they need, even 3D printing, which is cool. Then we have our machine shop, which is CNC, which is lathing and milling and manufacturing. So we have a large manufacturing base here in Northeast Oklahoma. We have a port. Did you know Rogers County, this is so funny, I'm sorry, you can edit this later. Rogers County has the farthest inlet of water of a port, seagoing port in the United States, here in Oklahoma.
Did not
We have
know.
barges that come in from Gulf of Mexico on up the Mississippi over to the Arkansas and up the Verdigris. So we actually get seagoing port barges and boats. So kind of cool.
Wow. Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. So, and the students all come to these programs, like you say, morning and an afternoon shift, and they're being brought in from a variety of districts in your area. Yeah.
Yes. We have little schools and we have big schools, and it's fun to watch kids meet one another. Then they become best friends, and they never knew they needed those people in their lives. So tech is kind of not just getting trained for success, but trained to be an adult and be responsible and caring.
Yeah. And just quickly, what about demand for the health careers track? Is it pretty strong?
It is. During COVID, we had low numbers. Well, number one, we had to be low numbers anyway, but social media really hurt healthcare by blasting healthcare that we were not in it for the right things. And our numbers kind of dropped because kids were afraid to become a healthcare provider. And this past year, it has totally flipped. I had 96 applications for 32 spots.
Wow.
And I wanted to take them all.
Wow. How do you choose?
I have a system.
Can you talk about that, or is that?
I interview, I give them lots of cool questions, but really I need them to see if they can vibe with me, because what you're seeing today is how I am daily. And I need to make sure kids can handle my scattered brain just as much as they can handle their scattered brains.
Very good. That's great. That's great. All right. So what do you tell us about how you organize your instruction for the health careers track?
Okay, sure. So the very first thing, the first semester, we get our CNA, our Certified Nurse Aide, through the State Department of Health here in Oklahoma. That takes us, that medical terminology is my first semester, and they get their CPR certification. We do a lot of employability skills, and lo and behold, we got to go out to the nursing homes this year, because that's where my licensing comes through, is being in long-term care. And out of 27 kids who trained, I have 13 working in a nursing home right now.
Wow. Wow.
So they're pretty pumped because they love their paychecks.
Yeah, for sure.
We come back from Christmas and we start anatomy, which is the fun one. I hope they never take that away from me. They've talked about getting a biology teacher. I'm like, no, that's mine. I like anatomy. And so the whole second semester is anatomy, and every day we have clay day, we have lecture days, we have dissect days, we have physiology days. So I try to spread it out so everybody knows each week that we have these certain things to meet.
Wow. So it's really a blended kind of different modalities, I guess, or different approaches to exploring anatomy.
Yeah, so I learned a long time ago, I can't teach to the material, I have to teach to the student. And so I change. Every year I can get really good skeletons, and some years I get different types of skeletons made, and that's okay. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit, because every kid's going to be unique at every different level, and they all dig it after we get through it.
Yeah, that's great. So how many years is your program to pull them through all the way?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, because I am a one-year program, because I have one
Okay.
classroom, one teacher, and we get finished at the end of May. They now have an option that they can move over to our sister campus, our campus over in Pryor, and they can attend a medical assisting for high school their senior year. And I'm pretty excited because I have 12, I think, going over next year to join their students and become medical assistants by the time they graduate high school. That's a real big resume builder right there.
And did you get a sense from these students that they're college bound? Are they career bound, do you think? A pretty
Um,
strong desire to be in the
So a
health
lot of kids
career?
were like me. They didn't know what they wanted to be. They don't have a plan. And so I really try to help them make plans, and I show them colleges to visit. I try to show them the cost-effective colleges that we have. And a lot of them look at our nursing program next door, the practical nursing program, because that's very viable. With their CNAs required, and their anatomy is part of the requirement. So they get a lot of my program that can help them get into the practical nursing. So I try to steer a lot of them in that direction. But then I have some, I get those valedictorians who are like, I'm going to honors college at, University of Oklahoma. This is really going to help. Yes, this is going to help you. I'm not college bound, but I am going to help you get ready for college bound.
That's great. Wow. So when did you run across Anatomy and Clay? How did that happen?
So when I came to this job, that very first year in 2009, August 20, I had one skeleton. It was given to me by another campus. And I said, so what do you do with this? And my director said, I don't know. So I just played with it. I had one. And I said, well, shouldn't I have more? And so that's 2009. I bought a few more, didn't really know what to do with it. And then lo and behold, professional development came through and said, hey, do you want to go to a training? And I said, can I go to Anatomy and Clay? Holy cow. I got to go to Chicago, spend 3 days at the Field Museum in a class, learning how to do this. And it brought me so much more confidence that I came back knowing how to do it, why to do it, and the value they can get out of putting this stuff together. So that's how I came through with Anatomy and Clay. Now I have 16 halved. So I have 16 holes, 32 halves, and we build systems.
Wow. And what was your reaction to it initially, especially at the professional development? What insights were you gaining during that time?
That you don't have to be perfect at sculpting to get this work done. And that's what I tell my students when we start this, that you're not going to, if you are perfect, that's really cool. I want to take as many pictures as I can because I'm a social media person and blast them everywhere. And if you're not so good, then talk to me about what you've made, because that's the best way to do it. Let me get the, I know we're on audio and video, but I'm holding up a
Yeah.
workbook that I got at my Anatomy and Clay Learning Center day, and it is level 1 professional development, and it has lesson plan. It has everything you need to do what you're doing on your Anatomy and Clay. And so that's, I've got 15 years now of lesson plans in my little head, and now we have AI that I can chat GPT anything, but the book still has some really good stuff in it.
That's great. So how you talk a little bit about how you implement it in the instructional flow? How do you approach it?
Okay, so I have my system. I'm on a rolly cart. My room doesn't have shelves, so I have a rolly cart that keeps all my tools and all my stuff. The main thing I start with is I teach them how to roll clay. Mark, this is the funniest thing. The kids haven't played with clay in forever, and they get it, and they try to take these giant blocks and roll them into little, and just break them. So I have to teach them how to make them small and malleable and workable. That's a lesson in itself. How to
Right.
use a ruler on my cutting boards. That's another fun thing. Is this is a ruler, kids. And then the best thing that Anatomy and Clay has put out, and it's on the files. If you guys go to your social media on your Facebook, which is what it's called. What is it called? It is Anatomy and Clay Teacher Forum. There's files out there, friends, and it is a diagram of all the shapes that you need to learn how to make to put on your skeleton. And so we do a lesson, Mark, on how to roll clay into tubes, how to
Yep.
flatten it like pizza dough. These kids crack me up. They don't know how. And I can tell you right now, don't put clay in the microwave. That's a no-no. It will spark and throw a breaker, and then your boss will get mad. So don't do that.
Speaking from experience, it sounds like.
Yes, yes. Here in
Yeah,
class.
warm up the clay in your hands.
Yes.
Yeah. So then as you get into teaching anatomical systems, do you have
Yes.
any, yeah, talk a little bit about that.
So we start off learning how to measure, how to cut, how to make shapes. And the first thing I go to, because these kids are nervous, they're afraid they're going to be messing up and not be perfect. So we start, I want to get Emma's out. She said I could use it. She's pretty, isn't she?
Yeah, wow, the colors.
I know.
I mean, purple
I know.
and blue and yellow and green.
I used to stick with all the basic colors, and then I decided not to because I don't know, but I know if we're on audio, you can't see, but I start with the frontalis muscle because that is so easy to put on there, and they can understand how it originates, where it inserts, and how we striate. And that's like the easiest thing to start with. And they like the face because we can make the orbicularis oris and the orbicularis oculi, and they can pick out their eyeball color, which they dig that. And so once we can figure out how to do the little ones, and then my favorite is a sternocleidomastoid because it's so fun to say. Sternocleidomastoid. They all remember it when I sing it like that too. Once they figured these things out, having them do the others is way easier. If I start with the small stuff on the face, temporalis, they all, on the diagram, it has a temporalis muscle template. Now they know what to do, and now they feel a little more confident. No, they don't have to be perfect. Yeah, it can be a little thick or it can be bumpy, and I'm cool with that. As long as they can talk to me about what the job is of the muscle, I'm pretty happy with what they've made. So that's on my muscle chapter.
Excellent. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, fantastic. And do you work on any other systems as well?
Yes, so let me get my other one.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, mine. Ooh, I think this is mine from my workshop. It's old. It's an antique now.
Okay.
But the next thing we're going to start on, now that they know where the muscles go, we can start on our nervous system. And so we're going to be making brains. And I have, so again, on the Facebook page, there's all these files that you can download for being a friend of Anatomy and Clay. And it gives you the directions on how to make the brain so easy. And then we can start making our spinal cord, and then we can start innervating. Oh my goodness, how the nerves will innervate into our muscles. Now that we have muscles made, we get now how the nerves put their little neurotransmitters down into the muscles. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, we'll go into make a little organs in here, our heart and our blood vessels, because the kids don't know that the blood vessels go everywhere. They're just astounded when they get to make all these, and they're going, well, how much clay do we need? I said, well, we got a lot of body system. So yeah, we got to roll it really thin. That cracks me up too. And yeah, he had a really good eye today. He has a googly eye.
That's
So yeah,
great.
we do all our body systems as much as we can. Sometimes it's a little too much, but sometimes it's just the right amount. So yeah.
What overall is their reaction to building with clay? How would you say the reactions range?
So this is a new thing. This group of kids don't want to be, a long time ago, let me start off with that. A long time ago, I have the DVDs. I have the original DVDs of how to make the body systems. And that went really slow. And 10 years ago, the kids were like going, okay, this works for me. But now the kids have to go faster. They need to have shorter segments. So we'll do one muscle, get up, do something else, come back and do another muscle, and or we'll start on body system and do one arm and stop, come back later and do a leg, because they just need to go a little bit slower. A long time ago, they would get so mad that it was clay day. Now they're kind of happy because we go a little bit quicker and a little bit smaller, and they like it much better, I think.
Great, great. And what
It's my TikTok brain. I have to go quick and fast.
yeah, just generally that whole approach with hands-on, do the students appreciate the fact that they're not just reading a book?
Oh, yes. So again, when I interview new prospective students, I talk about what things do you do to help you learn it? I swear 75% go, I need my hands on something. Well, I've got clay. We can use clay during CNA even. We use it for our occupational therapy activities where you can use clay. And so I'm happy that clay can be used for everything because I spend a lot of money on clay. And how we can use it, the kids like putting their hands in stuff and they like to touch it and they like to make it into things. And I let them make their mannequins. They get to name them. They get to customize them. They'll give them very large rumps. They'll give them very big hairs. And that doesn't bother me a bit. As long as they're keeping their skeleton up to date, I'm fine with it.
That's great. Do you have any sort of insights or advice to a teacher out there who might be thinking about starting with anatomy in clay or looking into it as a possibility for their classroom?
Yeah, so if my public school friends are looking into this and they're like, there's no way I can afford this, talk to the PTO, talk to your PTA, talk to your foundations, you can put 4 kids on one half of a mannequin and still have a fruitful lesson. So you don't have to buy 32 or 16 of them and half them. You can just have a few for a classroom, and you can put them up on a shelf so the other kids can see it, or you can just use a couple for a classroom. As long as everybody gets to have it at their station and they get to put their hands on it, I think that's the way to go. Start small, and then as you start seeing your value in anatomy and clay, then start asking for more. Because once you can prove it to your principals and your directors, they're going to want to help you be more successful, because this is a great marketing tool. When I have to interview students and bring them in for tours, I always have these out. When I have parents that come for parent night, I always have these out because they're like, we think this is great. And so people who want to start this, get a couple and start from there.
Yeah. How about just from a teacher's, that was great, by the way, but if a teacher feels a little daunted by their own ability to sculpt and build with clay?
So, and I've met teachers that don't want to do it because they're afraid that I don't have that in me. I'm too old now to have that thought process. But when you can do it and it doesn't look perfect, then your students are going to want to do it. And we have to get over being straight-laced and strict when we're working with our hands. We have to be able to make mistakes, learn how our hands are going to learn it, and just try. But I can tell you, if you'll just sign up for one of these classes, I saw y'all have a virtual one coming up, a virtual professional development.
Yep.
Take those as much as you can. Go on the Facebook and see what other people are doing. You also have a TikTok. I've seen your TikTok.
Yeah. Yep. There's lots
And
of little tips and tricks out there for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
I see a lot of people that share on social media, and it gives me ideas on oh man, I wish I had that storage container, or I wish I'd known to do that. So there's a lot of things you can learn just by researching, if that's what you want to do. If you're a teacher, this is what you're going to want to do. That's in my opinion.
Yep. So I assume you have some sort of exit test or um, some sort of exam at the end of your course, correct?
Yes, I learned this at my professional development. These little sticky flags, if you can see them, if you cannot see them, they're like thumbtacks with a flag that you can take a Sharpie marker to, and you can mark them onto whatever body system you want to put it on.
Right.
And then you line them up and you can give them a diagram test, but it's all on the skeletons that they've all built. And how do I choose what skeletons to look for? Whichever ones have the right thing. That's all. And kids are so excited because their skeleton got picked for the test. Woo.
Yeah. Is there any question in your mind that the students are do fairly well with the anatomy and clay system in terms of just really sort of taking all the information in a way that really is going to stick with them?
I think it does have value. I've had students that graduate from me and they get into college. I had two, I mentioned occupational therapy a while ago. I have two that went on occupational therapy school. We still have bells on spring break. How weird.
Yeah.
They came back to get out the skellies and play with them for their anatomy and occupational therapy. And so this can keep going as long as they need to. A girl, one of my students from a long time ago, she went on and got her PhD in physical therapy. And she's like going, college didn't have anatomy and clay. And that was a shame because they really could have used it. But, I think that the fact that, she's a physical therapist and came back and told me that anatomy and clay was valuable for her meant a lot for me
Yeah,
too.
that is fantastic. Sounds like it's really just going to be a regular part of your instruction. It sounds like it's also something where if suddenly you didn't have access to it, that would be not so good.
Yeah. So during COVID, everything was new for us during COVID, right? And so I got permission. This is really hard. I got permission and made some little diagrams on paper and made little clay packets. And I went on a drive-through because we were right in the middle of anatomy when we had to shut down. So I went on a drive-through and gave everyone packages of clay and some diagrams. That was a couple of days me and my husband drove around delivering clay and diagrams. So when we
Wow.
got on Zoom, I could have my skelly at my house and I could show them what I'm building and they could practice building it on their diagram with their own clay. So you can make this work no matter what your situation. I had one girl was out for 9 weeks for, oh my gosh, she had hip replacement at age 16. Is that not the saddest thing ever? But she was out
Wow.
for 9 weeks. And so we set her home a whole setup. And so she could join us every day and do her clay work on Zoom with us.
Wow. Yeah.
So you can make it work however you want to make it work.
Yeah. Wow. Very creative ideas and suggestions, Nancy. Thank you so much for this rundown today and for all the insights and stories. We really appreciate it. And, um, thank you for your time again, coming in to school on spring break, as you said, to a quiet classroom, at least today. And thank you. And we wish you well down the road.
Well, thanks. I appreciate being able to talk to other teachers out there. And I'm on social media. If you want to see what I do, come follow or look at Anatomy and Clay social media and you'll see me there too. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Do you know your social media handles right off the bat?
Yeah. So on TikTok, I'm Nurse Nancy 20. A lot of teachers don't like TikTok. Wow, you're missing out. But TikTok is Nurse Nancy 20. And on Facebook, I am Nurse Nancy's Health Careers. And I think I'm Nurse Nancy's Health Careers on Instagram as well.
Great.
So, yeah, I post everything and anything, and people email me and message me and ask me stuff. I'm cool with it. I'm an empty nester. This is my hobby.
Well, the kids are lucky to have you. And thanks again, Nancy.
Well, you're welcome.